Good evening. In my work with nonprofits, I spend a lot of time educating organizations on the importance of high-quality donor stewardship. One of the best ways to teach a concept is to model it. So when I saw my first Love Pop card, which was a tree, I began to imagine how I could use it to thank the individuals across North America who administer the Life and Legacy program locally. Two things came to mind: sending a Love Pop card in honor of the Jewish holiday of Tu B'Shvat, the New Year of Trees, and customizing the card with a story that reminds us, as my ancestors planted for me, so do I plant for future generations. I selected the oak tree card, which has an acorn on the front and a beautiful tree in the center, and I printed a message on the insert. To say the card was a hit was an understatement. I have sent other gifts to our coordinators over the years and received many thank yous, but the response to the Love Pop card was more than that. Beautiful, fantastic, terrific, classy, gorgeous, amazing, awesome were just a few of the adjectives used, along with sentiments like, "You made my day," "I almost fell over," "What a surprise." And each of these individuals proudly display their Love Pop card on their desk, even months after they received it. So I feel very privileged to have met Wombi earlier today, and I'm honored to introduce him this evening. Wombi Rose is co-founder and CEO of Love Pop. A ship designer in his past life, Wombi studied naval architecture and marine engineering at Webb Institute, where he met his business partner and best friend, John Wise. When asked to share something about Wombi, John responded, "Wombi is an Eagle Scout, and we both love camping and the outdoors. Some of our best times have been on adventures, whether it be sailing, hiking, or camping. In college, Wombi had an RV on campus. One summer, we drove it from New York to Brownsville, Texas, and back. We were actually trying to drive to Panama, but we were not allowed across the Mexican border, so we drove back to New York and flew down instead." On another one of their many adventures, this time a Harvard Business School trip to Vietnam, the duo discovered the incredible handcrafted paper art form of kirigami and were inspired. They took their engineering background and combined the ancient art form with the slice form structure used in ship design, and Love Pop was born. Love Pop is reinventing the social expressions industry with an imagination meets engineering approach to designing unforgettable pop-up cards. Wombi and his team of designers and engineers are shaking things up with a focus on efficient technology and new design ideas to create the special combination of card, artwork, and gift. Since earning an investment from Kevin O'Leary, or Mr. Wonderful, on ABC Shark Tank in 2015, Love Pop has been named a winner of Inc. magazine's Design Awards for category reinvention and one of Boston's On Fire startups. With more than 450 unique designs, they recently hit the milestone of 5 million cards shipped since the company's founding in 2014. Please join me in welcoming Wombi to the stage to share the story behind building this incredible Massachusetts-based startup and hear more about their mission to create 1 billion magical moments across the globe.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
So So, my name is Wombi. I'm one of the founders of Love Pop. And as you've heard, Arlene could definitely do our elevator pitch. We are a 3D design company on a mission to create 1 billion magical moments and the best place in the world for hungry and creative problem solvers. Let's problem solve this, 1 second. Yes, great. So I think earlier, listening, I heard that public speaking is one of the biggest fears that humans have. I share this fear, but it's been more of like a 3rd grade haunted house kind of fear until I had to follow all of these amazing elevator pitches earlier. So now I'm in like full-blown terror mode. But we will make it through because that's what we do. So I'm really excited to be here. In a former life, as you've heard, I was a ship designer. I worked in shipyards like this one on oil rigs, in faraway places, in Singapore, in Shanghai, and I would have a hard hat on my head, steel-toed boots. I would try to make sure that I didn't fall into a hole or that the compartment that I was going into had enough oxygen for me to breathe. Make sure that nothing was falling out of the cranes and onto my head. And so now I am here in beautiful Massachusetts talking to a crowd of you in an air-conditioned room. This is a lot easier than that was climbing through the 100-degree heat into the ships, in Trieste, trying not to slide across an icy pier. So this is very exciting. What's also very exciting is our product. So here's one of them. You have some at your tables. If you haven't checked them out yet, open them up. This is my passion, right? This is what I love to do, is create these beautiful, magical sculptures that people give to each other to create a magical moment, to create an expression of wonder and care and emotion, and whatever you want to say, you can say it with a Love Pop. So my journey here actually started a long time ago when I was little. And when I was little, what I loved to do for all kinds of special occasions was make some art. And my favorite thing was actually those silver, those silver metallic markers that you have to shape so they work. And then like blue and green watercolors, so those were my favorite. But every Christmas, I would make drawings, paintings, sculptures for my family. When I was in high school, I took 3 study halls so that I could run down to the art classroom and make sculptures, make costumes. And this has just always been really fun for me. Now, I've never been an amazing artist. I've never been a great artist, but I've always been a passionate artist. And so when I was looking at colleges, I had heard from everyone like, hey, you're going to find somewhere you fall in love with. I didn't think that was true. I went and visited all these schools. I did not find one that I fell in love with until I found this place, which is called Web Institute. It's a school for ship design. It's 100 people. I was like, what is this? But I learned every aspect of engineering. And most importantly, I actually met this guy. So this is John Wise. This is the person Arlene asked about our travels and adventures, which are numerous. But I met him, and we became best friends. Our class was 18 people, so we spent a lot of time together. And we knew that someday we wanted to start a business together. And we thought about lots of different ideas, and they were all really terrible, terrible ideas that should never have happened, and thank God they didn't happen. And instead, John went down, oh wow, that's actually, so I didn't mention this. His name is John Perry Wise VII. That one is John Perry Wise VIII. Which is so cool. And yeah, there will never be a Wombi the 8th. But if there is, I won't be alive to meet Wombi the 8th. But we call him Perry, and he's now the new inspiration of the company. But in any case, he went down to Louisiana, and he worked for this aluminum boat builder, which was a fishing boat manufacturer. Manufacturer is a strong word. Louisiana fisherman who was making some aluminum fishing boats, who had teamed up with a web graduate from a few years before us, who had a way to get some Coast Guard contracts and was writing some grants and contracts with the Coast Guard. And John went down and he became their first engineer. So this was a tiny little company that was a boat builder trying to make some Coast Guard boats. And John designed this boat, which is a response boat small, and won a competitive bid for 500 boats, which is the largest small boat contract in the world, $192 million. So that was his first startup experience, and this company completely changed his trajectory. And he looked up and he said, okay, well, I'm a really good engineer, but I want to learn more about business. I want to be part of the decision making in the company. And so he applied to business schools, and he got into Harvard Business School, which is a very good business school. And so he said, all right, I know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to go there. And then he called me and he said, Wombi, can you come and see if you can get into, because we would like to do this business thing that we've been talking about, and you're just off working. I was in Australia. He's like, why are you doing that? Come to Boston, and if you don't get in, just come anyways, and we'll start a business. I was lucky. I got in. We started in 2013 together with the idea of, hey, we're going to start a business. And we looked at all kinds of other business ideas. We looked at natural gas trucking. We looked at fish farming, all kinds of things that we knew something about because we were engineers. And ultimately, we fell in love with this style of art. So we were in Vietnam, we came across this style of art, and because we were ship designers, we immediately looked at it and were like, we get it, we know how to make it, and we can make anything. It's because when you design a ship, you take a 3D shape, you slice it into planes. Where those planes intersect, you draw lines. It's called a lines plan. I saw a lot of the ideas out there. There were some 3D printing ones, so you guys all know what I'm talking about. And we just fell in love with this style of art, but it was really just cool. It was fun. It wasn't a business. We had no idea that this was going to be the thing that 5 years later we'd be looking back and saying, oh, that was the moment when we started this business. It was just cool, and we had never seen anything like it before. And so we started down this journey, and this is our canoeing card. I'm the one in the front paddling furiously. John is the one steering in the back, calm, nonchalant, figuring out where we need to go. And we started down this journey, and we were engineers, right? We were not consumer products folks. We didn't know much about that, but what we knew is that there was something really powerful here, because everybody that we showed the product to was like, I have someone that I want to give this to. And every single person has those relationships, and those are the most meaningful things in their life. And so really for us it became, we don't know anything about this whole consumer business part of it, but we've never been in an apparel store and seen people go like, oh my God, look at this t-shirt, like come here, look at this t-shirt, and call their friends and bring everybody in. And that's what was happening everywhere that we went with Love Pop. And so we said, all right, it's a big industry, 2 major players, haven't changed in a long time, we're gonna go for it. And we were really lucky in June of 2015 to get to be, gotta come back over here to change the slide. Yeah, to get to be on Shark Tank. And this was an incredible opportunity for us, and really for any consumer brand. And for me, I really think about Shark Tank as the personification of the American dream. And you've got 40,000 people every year who are watching the show, who are actually applying to be on the show. You're under so much pressure. It's one take. It's such a great introduction for people to get to know who you really are, because it's how you respond under pressure to those questions. And so we spent a month and we memorized every single number on our financial statement, our financial plan, which turned out to be very different from what ended up happening. But we had it all memorized. And so we got to pitch the Sharks, and we were very, very fortunate to end up with this guy, Mr. Wonderful, who really truly has been wonderful in building our business together. And so for us, that was really kind of the launching point for our business. And For those of you who don't know much about Love Pop, most of our business is through lovepop.com. So we sell about 450 different designs of the most intricate paper cards in the world. And this was really the beginning of the online business, was being on Shark Tank. So our mission, create 1 billion magical moments. That's what we do every day. And when we think about why does somebody buy a Love Pop, it's because they want to create that connection, they want to create that magical moment. And the industry that we're in, two major players that are 90% through the channel, that are selling through Target, Walmart, CVS, Walgreens. They don't have that relationship with the customer, and they also have a really low dollars per moment that they get to receive as a business, whereas us going direct to consumer, we have 10 times the dollars per moment, which is a really cool metric that we get to use, and it gives us this like kind of structural advantage in our business, and so we've been able to really grow. That business. But what is even more important is, why do people buy from us? And so we really think about this idea of wonder, emotion, and meaning. And so when you first discover a Love Pop, you have that moment of wonder, and actually with many products that you buy, there's always that moment of wonder and excitement. But then you've got a deeper part of it, which is the emotion. What is the emotion that is getting you to think about that purchase and want to make that purchase? And in our case, it's very deep because you're thinking about another person. But then the most important part for us is really meaning. You know, what is that purchase? What is the meaning in your life? And for us, it's, you know, my aunt's a gardener, I'm giving her this willow tree. And it's one of the reasons why we've really stayed away from putting too many words or sentiments in our cards, because it's really about your own personal sentiments, about the meaning. And that's I think the really, you know, powerful part of the business. And by focusing on that meaning, this is a word cloud of our Net Promoter Score data. Who knows what Net Promoter Score is? It's a very cool number that has been asked, a very simple question that's been asked a lot of times, and so people kind of know what the number means. The question is, would you recommend Love Pop or any business to a friend? So our Net Promoter Score is extremely high, and it's partly because of our focus on love, service. This is what people say when they fill out these surveys for us. And I think at this point we have about 100,000 times that we've surveyed our customers about whether they would recommend us to a friend. And I think this has been one of the biggest focuses of the company from the beginning, is just like our customer happiness team. How are we reacting to our customers? So a little bit more about the future. So this is the exciting thing for me, is the imagination behind it. So I still lead the design team, which is kind of my favorite thing, is coming in the morning and working with designers and seeing the new art that they're doing. We've been able to attract some really, really top tier partners with the Beatles and Game of Thrones and Star Wars and Marvel, and hopefully soon Disney, so that'll be really exciting. And then creating our own content properties, kind of, you know, our great outdoors and our construction site, and really just, you know, building our own imagination company. So, there's some more bigger pictures, and then the goal really for us is, how can we be everywhere? How can we be everywhere? We just opened, this is our very first store. So this is in Hudson Yards. It opened in mid-March. We've had a lot of retail experiences, presence, kiosks in, if you've seen them in Boston, in the Prudential Center, and Faneuil Hall and South Station, in New York in the Oculus, but this is our first one that has 4 walls, which turns out to be a little bit different than the store without 4 walls, but doing very, very well and very exciting, and just you know, kind of one more level of experience that we can create. And so that's kind of the story of the company. I was asked to share a little bit of advice, which I am woefully not qualified to give, but I'll do it anyways. I think there's one main thing that I think, you know, you are amazing and inspiring, and I was crying listening to the pitches, especially the umbrella. I want to be on your early customer list. I definitely want that, and also the warmth. So I think that if I could say one thing is, look, it's so hard. When I walked in here, the first thing that Carrie and Arlene did is walk around, and we were looking for Harold, and we walked through all of the presentations that you had, and it just reminded me of the days in the very beginning of Love Hop where we were at those presentation boards with the cardboard standing up, and it took me back to that place and thinking about, oh my God, what are the next year, 2 years, 3 years going to be like for all of you, and remembering our next year, 2 years, 3 years, which are some of the hardest, most exhausting, most stressful years of my life. Also some of the most rewarding, most exciting, most fun years of my life, but definitely literally 20 years packed into 3. And if you're gonna do that and put all of that energy towards something, the one thing that I would say is make sure it's something that you really love. Make sure that it's really what you want to do, because you can only do that so many times. Well, maybe not actually. Harold is a great example of you can do it many times. But I love having a big goal of creating this inspirational company. I love thinking about the difference that we are making in the world, and how today there's a lot of things that are going on around us that may not be exactly what we're excited about, but the world needs more sparks of joy. They need more magic, and we do that, and we create that magic, and we have this superpower of taking something ordinary and making it fun and exciting and different and meaningful and helping people connect. And I love that mission. And I think that's really important, but I also love the everyday. I love the journey, and if I could switch places with one of our card designers, I would do it in a heartbeat, because I would be happy literally just making this for the rest of my days. And I think that's the one thing I would encourage for all of you to think about, because these decisions that you make about going from the paper presentation board to doing this every single day. I know some of you are already doing it, so you're good. You know you love it. You're running. That's those are really big decisions, and so I think that's the one thing I'd say is just go for it and just do it, but make sure it's the thing that you love doing, because it's so much energy. So there you go. That's my advice. That stay calm about it. What's the worst that happens is it fails. It's not that bad. So I guess if I step back for a moment, this is the number one metric for us in the company, is the magical moments that we've created. This is how many magical moments we've created as of today. So this is the number that we watch, and when I think about every magical moment, it's not just a number on the wall. Actually, it's a story. Every single Love Hop that goes out is a story, and we know that it's creating a meaningful moment. So I share kind of maybe my favorite Love Hop story that embodies for me why do we do this. This is pretty early in our history. I was selling in South Station, and this was back in the days where we would sell for 12 hours in a row. And there was a guy there. His name was Joe. He lived in and around South Station. He doesn't have a home, but he lived around there. And he came one day, and he handed me $10 for a pink dogwood tree. It was only $8, this card. And I tried to give it to him because I knew that he didn't have very much, and he said, "No, I need to buy this. I'm going to visit my daughter. I see her once a month, and I want this to be for her from me. And it's, those moments that are happening every single day, thousands of times, because of the art that our team makes, the art that our team puts together, and that goes out of our doors. And I think for me, that's why this number is so important, because it's not really just a number, it's actually a whole bunch of really, really moving and powerful experiences that are happening every day that we can't even see. So I'm going to open it up for questions now. Where do we manufacture? It's such a cool story. So, I'm sorry this is going to be a somewhat long answer because it's a very cool story. Where do we manufacture? So, when we originally discovered the art, we discovered it in Vietnam when we were there on a school trip with Harvard Business School. And I was working on an online dating app, and John was working on a radio station. And we were doing this like little mini consulting project, and we came across the sound and we fell in love with it. So when we started trying to do our consumer research, we're like, we need some products, so we started working with some contract manufacturers, also in Vietnam, who we had met while we were there trying to find the product. And that worked for a little bit, but we couldn't get the lead times, we couldn't get the quality, we weren't really sure where they were manufacturing, and so we ultimately decided, we're going to do this. This was in January 2015. We're going to have to start our own production, which was a very naive thing to think. Turns out that it was one of the best decisions that we ever made. It was also a really big commitment, because at that point we're just experimenting, trying to see if this was something that we wanted to do after we were done with school. And so we had been working with a designer at one of these contract manufacturers. His name is Bao. And Bao was 4.5 years into a 5-year architecture program in Ho Chi Minh City. He was originally from Da Nang, in the center of Vietnam. And John asked him one day, after a particularly frustrating day of trying to work with our contract manufacturers, like, do you think we could start a workshop? And Bao said, yeah, I think we could. How long do you think it'll take? 2 weeks? So 3 months later, he had a laser cutter, and he had hired 10 people from the Vietnamese equivalent of Craigslist. A day after that, he had 5 people. And those were the 5 that we started Love Pop Vietnam with. And now he has 500 people. And it's just this incredible story where he didn't even tell his friends he was working with us for a year after he started with us, because he was worried that it would fail, and he didn't want them to know that he had dropped out of school with 6 months left to start this with us. And that was also for us the biggest decision, because it was very different. It was very different for me and John. Whatever, if we were leaving school is not really a big deal, but if we were asking somebody else to do that, it was a really big deal. And so that was kind of a big commitment for us.
How did y'all land the opportunity to have space in Hudson Yards?
Hudson Yards? How did we originally land the opportunity to be in Hudson Yards? I don't know, but our head of retail, Colin, would know. Colin knows everyone in retail at this point, and I think in some way, shape, or form, someone that he knows came to him and said, hey, do you want to do this? But honestly, I have no idea.
So how's the process of making a new design?
The process of making a new design? So we have a design team that is split between Boston and Vietnam, and we'll start with a line plan of just, what kinds of designs do we want to make. In the beginning, it was just, what are our customer requests? Which one can we make the easiest? Let's go. And then at this point now, it's like, okay, well, we have all these occasions. What new occasions do we need? What trends are happening? What customer requests do we have? And we kind of put it all together. So then we make the line plan. We also look at when is it going to come out compared to different seasons, like Mother's Day, Christmas, you name it. And so we'll do that, and then we'll do sketches, and we'll review what we call planning sheets, which are hand-drawn sketches of all of the designs that we want to make. And then we'll put them into our 3D software. So we use Rhino, which is a 3D software program that we also used to use. Actually, John designed the Response But Small in Rhino. So it's the same software from our ship design days. We built a lot of proprietary tools into that allow us to make that process a lot faster. Then we'll do nesting files, which is basically just taking the 3D files, putting them onto sheets, cutting them out with the laser cutter, making prototypes, and then we'll put it into production. Over here.
Was there ever a time early on when you were doing this that you second guessed what you were doing? And if so, what moment or what did you do to talk yourself off that ledge to stick with it?
Yeah, was there ever a time where we second guessed ourselves? Many, many times of second guessing. But I think this is one of the good things about starting a company with someone else. And in this case, you know, John and I have been really, really committed to each other through the whole process. In fact, I think it's the only way we are able to do this is because at the very beginning we said we were friends first. And we'll always be friends first. If there's ever anything in the way of our friendship, we're going to take care of that before we do anything on the business, no matter how pressing that issue might be. And I think that's helped us in all of those situations to help each other get over whatever challenge that was. And so I think, you know, we've almost run out of money 5 different times in the business, and those are really stressful times. And I think the only way we've gotten through all of that is because of each other.
How important was your education at Harvard?
How important was my education at Harvard? This is such a difficult question. Like, any other Harvard? Okay, I gotta be careful. No,
Very important.
I feel the same way about all of my education. Actually, it's about learning how to solve problems. And so I wouldn't say that any specific thing that I've learned at any school is like, you know, this magical thing that helps me do things in everyday life. I think it's the experience of being with other really smart people working on whatever that challenge is and being challenged by the people around you and learning how to think, problem solve, continue to learn, and then being able to go back to those people, whether they're from web, whether they're from you know, my former colleagues, whether they're from Harvard. It's so nice to be able to go to those people and say, hey, I've got this problem, can you help me with it? So I think very important, but not like a one-to-one correlation on anything.
I think we have time for one more question.
One more question. All right.
What made you decide to sell online first versus having a brick and mortar? And then what made you decide to eventually have a brick and mortar?
What made us decide to sell online first before having a brick and mortar? And then what made us decide eventually that we wanted to have a brick and mortar? So we, in the very, very beginning, April 1st, April Fool's Day of 2014, when we opened the website, we decided to go online because that was the thing that we could do. We could take pictures of our product and we could put it on a website. And then we got all of our contacts and emailed all of them, and then we had $2,000 of sales. And we were like, yes, $2,000 of sales, that's great. That's a great business. And the next day we had $50 of sales. Like, that's really not that good. But I think for us it was let's figure this out. And then we actually pretty early started to go into brick and mortar in South Station, and that was just a friend of mine had a kiosk, like an ATM in there, and it was doing really well, and he's like, you should try it. So that's why we tried it. So a lot of what we've done is just go try things. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you very much.